Well, hello there. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower, coming to you live from the Gulf Coast of Florida, just a couple miles from the most beautiful beach, at least in the United States, Clearwater Beach. If you've never been there, you should come. It's gorgeous. I spent 20 years as a licensed minister with three of the largest Protestant denominations on the planet. I am a Bible college graduate, and I have over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical scriptures as people rush to do their math, I'm sure. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that I've discovered over the years. We're going to talk about some of the modalities that I've discovered over the years. And we're going to discover whether or not you want to open yourself up to new possibilities, or if you just want to keep yourself in the same vein that you're in. I know Bill Durr is a proud rod owner, and we want to talk about this. Good morning from California. Good morning from Beirut, Lebanon. Lots of people from lots of different places in the chat. And, you know, it just surprises me even now from time to time. You take a step back and you think about what's going on. Someone checking in from Colorado. You take a step back and you realize what's going on when we get together here. And when we actually are talking to one another. Kansas City in the house. Our good friend Tammy Brown. So lots of folks from lots of places. And when I was a Christian, and I'm not a Christian anymore, I'll tell you right now, North Florida, Baltimore, was told to stop by listening. Nice to see you, Global Witness. Smoky Mountains, London, South Florida. We were just down in South Florida at the Fort Drum Crystal Mine. Sweden, Eugene, Oregon, Michigan. This is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Liverpool, United Kingdom. We should do this every show. I love hearing where people are from. Nebraska. I was a Christian. Tampa, Florida. Aruba, Oregon. Another Clearwater native. We need to have a little Clearwater party here, Southern Illinois. But anyway, when I was a Christian, I was very much hardcore Christian. Beatty, Nevada. Very, very hardcore Christian. New York, Texas. And I didn't do anything that wasn't in the book. And I did everything I found in the Bible, and I found everything I did in the Bible. Reno, Virginia, Arizona, Lutz, Florida, Sydney, Ohio, Derbyshire, UK. This is amazing. And I was very hardcore. And I began to realize Rocky's going to be in Florida next week. Rocky, contact me. Brother, I don't care where you are in Florida. I will go and meet you there. Love to see the emotional meatball, Rocky Stucci. Rocky, we need to get you back on the program. Rocky is exploding as a political commentator, and this is not your normal political commentary. I mean, Rocky Stucci is as real world as they come, and very, very fresh. Ireland, very, very fresh, very, very unique perspectives. And Rocky, if you would, put your information into the chat room where people can watch your show, listen to your show, make contact with you. And please let me know when you're going to be Arizona. Let me know when you're going to be in Florida. I was a Bible toting, scripture quoting Christian as well, Amy. And I was doing the best I knew how to do. I was doing the best I knew how to do. I was doing what I thought was right. And then I began to see some things, and I began to ask some questions, Wichita, Kansas. And when I asked the questions, I was met with derision at best and outright attack at worst. And I began to realize that if they don't let you ask questions, then there's something wrong. If you can't ask questions, Cocoa Beach, Rocky, we will be there, brother. I'm telling you, if they won't let you ask questions, Playa Linda Beach, That's where Rocky and I will go. For those of you that aren't familiar with Playa Linda Beach, it's a nude beach. And I tell you what, the thought of the Italian or the emotional Italian meatball at Playa Linda Beach, I'm not sure how it makes me feel, but at any rate, oh my, get that visual out of your mind. But I began to realize that if they're forbidding me from asking questions, and you gotta remember, folks, I was, had a Bible college degree. I also have an associate's degree in anthropology and geography. So I'm used to asking questions. I'm used to employing the empirical methodology, which is we don't assume anything is right. We don't assume anything is correct. Another one from England. Benny, just go to jeffreydarty.com and you can click on my store and you can get the rods. Let me just put it in here for you. Just go there and click on the store. It says store. But whenever you're in a place, I don't care if it's a church, I don't care if it's a club, I don't care if it's an organization, I don't care if it's school. If they tell you that you cannot ask questions, if you're not allowed to discuss opportunities, if you're not allowed to discuss diversities, if you're not allowed to say, but why do we do this? Why do we say that? Why do we teach this? If you're not able to ask questions, if you're not allowed to ask questions, you're in a very scary place and you should leave that place, in my humble opinion. Because if you can't grow, if you can't question, if you can't develop, it's like our political system now, our news cycle. We're not allowed to ask. We're not allowed to question. My family is still very, very, very unwoke. I guess asleep would be the right terminology. And it's just now, that we're able to start talking to my family, at least. Lindsay's a new subscriber, and I will give precedence to new subscribers. I'll tell you that right now. Came across me on Leak Project. So much of what you say is aligned with my inner truth. It's nice to hear someone talking about it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Lindsay L. It's very humbling to hear that, and I do appreciate it very much. I've been using divining rods 3-4 years now. And as I began to realize that the Christian religion is a fear and guilt-based control matrix, fear meaning if you don't do right, you're going to go to hell. Guilt-based because you're full of original sin and you killed Jesus. And they use those things to control you. They use what I call, David Icke has the problem, reaction, solution paradigm matrix. I have the, what is it? Sin, savior, salvation matrix. They convince you that you're filled with original sin. They convince you that you need salvation. And they convince you that they've got the only savior. And if you believe all three of those things, you're locked into a control matrix. Love right back to all of you. You're locked into a trap. You're caught in a trap. You can't walk out because you love them too much, baby. Why can't you see what they're doing to me when I have to believe every word they're saying? We can't go on together when we have suspicious minds. So we have to walk out of the matrix when the truth we find. I just butchered up an Elvis song, but you get the idea. So as I began to see the cracks in the Christian control matrix, I began to see things weren't adding up. I began to see why they didn't want us. Amy, John, that's an Elvis song. Come on. Dwight Yoakam covered an Elvis song. I'm really disappointed in you, Amy. That hurts me right here in the heart, right underneath the scarf. It hurts me that we would credit that song to Dwight Yoakam and not Elvis Presley. Come on now. Jessica wants me to sing it. I can't walk out. Anyway. So I began to look. I began to search. I began to discover. And one thing that had always interested me, one thing that had always intrigued me for some reason was the idea of divining rods. Now, many people call them dowsing rods. And if you look up under Wikipedia, you're going to find it under dowsing. And you got this gentleman right here, typically, historically, 18th century book about dowsing. And think about that. For thousands of years, people have been employing what I call a spiritual technology. Here he is with his stick. It's usually a natural stick, as you see, divided. And then a lot of times they're longer here. But the idea was that you use this stick, and let's just see what Wikipedia has to say about it. It's a type of divination employed in attempts to locate groundwater, ores, gemstones, oil, grave sites. You know what? I just thought about this. We were digging crystals last week on Friday, I guess it was. Why didn't I have my divining rods out there to point me to the crystals? I could have saved myself a lot of work. I'm jumping the gun, but I've used my divining rods. I've used my divining rods in the classic sense right here on finding things. I've used them to find my car keys multiple times. I've used them to find my cell phone and other people's cell phones multiple times. I've used them to find my cat because, I mean, you know, if the vacuum cleaner goes off, if the guy comes by or the girl, I'm not sure who it is, and runs the leaf blower after mowing, he disappears because he's afraid of noise. You know how that goes. And they will point to what you want. Rocky Stucci will attest to this. We were playing with them at the Paradigm Symposium. John Ward had them. Where is such and such? Where is thus and so? Well, somebody says, I'm waiting for my rods. I just sent out moments ago, literally moments ago, 22 orders of rods, 22. So those rods will be out. I use pendulums as well. I tend to resonate a little bit more with rods, but we do have pendulums in that store as well. In fact, I just made and sent out 4 pendulums, and the Mistech is on it. Mistech is 100% caught up. And I want to thank you for being patient because we did have some snafus, but it is definitely we all are 100% caught up on our orders. Mother Nature, thank you so much. I get called everything under the sun. So it's nice to see somebody say, Jeff, just wanted to let you know you're doing a great job. I really do truly appreciate that very, very much. So as I went and I was just wondering about these rods, and people have used them for thousands of years to find water witching, it's called. You walk along, when the rods detect water, they'll pull down, you dig, you've got a well. And folks, the reason people have used it for 1,000 years is not because they're trying to piss off Christians. The reason that people have used this for thousands of years to find water is because you can use them to find water. The reason that people have used divining rods or dowsing rods for thousands of years to find metals and ores in the ground is not because they're trying to piss off Christians. It's because you can use the rods to find ores and metal and oil and lost keys and cell phones and cats. We're not doing it just to piss off Christians. We're doing it because it works. And let me let you in on a little secret, ladies and gentlemen. The Christians are pissed off about it because it works. The Christians are pissed off because they know that if you start to employ a divination practice in your own life and it starts working for you, Christianity's in trouble because, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you find out that there is spirituality, that there is reality, that there is self-empowerment, that there is self-illumination, the moment you find out that there's real, true, powerful spirituality outside of the Christian fear and guilt control matrix, be it Roman Catholicism, be it Roman Protestantism, as soon as you discover that, you're really almost out the door. It's only a matter of time, because you can't live under a fear matrix. You can't live under a guilt matrix. You can't live under a control matrix for very long once you've realized that there is something real and true and freeing and powerful outside of it, if you're a truly spiritual person. So the reason they're so upset about it is because they don't want you to know that you can be empowered by the use of not only divining rods, but any type of a divining practice. That's why they're so upset about it. That's why they don't want you to be involved in any type of a divination practice. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that's what's at the core of it. It's not because they're afraid that you're going to get possessed or oppressed or whatever. They're afraid that they're not going to be able to possess you anymore. They're afraid they're not going to be able to oppress you anymore. They're afraid that you're going to learn some truth, and that truth is going to set you free. That's really what they're afraid of, ladies and gentlemen. And I discovered this, and I discovered that as I began to employ this methodology of dowsing, that it was powerful. I was able to discover things and see things. And of course, the powers that be say it's a pseudoscience. There's no scientific evidence that it's any more than random chance. Well, if you've watched me at all, I've asked the rods thousands of questions, and I've yet to see them be wrong. Now, Wikipedia says it's Y-shaped or two L-shaped twigs or rods, dowsing rod, divining rod. They're sometimes used during dowsing, although some dowsers use other equipment or no equipment at all. How interesting is this? Dowsing appears to have arisen in the context of Renaissance magic in Germany. And just to show you a little bit of how to use Wikipedia, if it's blue, you can click on it. Renaissance magic. And this is very interesting. I didn't even notice this. Do you remember what was happening in the 15th and 16th century in Germany specifically? Well, there was a little thing called the Protestant Reformation that was happening in the 15th and 16th century. So you had the Roman Catholics trying to fight off the Roman Protestants, and you had the Roman Protestants trying to create this big quote-unquote schism from the Roman Catholics. It's kind of like the Republicans trying to convince you they're not Democrats, the Democrats trying to convince you they're not Republicans, and yet at the end of the day, if you follow the money, and folks, it's always about the money, the same groups, the same corporations, the same billionaires, the same money is supporting both parties. So if you listen to Rocky Stucci, you'll know this. And if you're awake and have more than two functioning brain cells and have even an ounce of objectivity left within your body, you'll know this. The Republican Party, the Democratic Party, they're two wings on the same bird. There's really no difference. And it's the same way even back in the Reformation times in Germany. Yeah, we had the Roman Catholics. Yeah, we had the Roman Protestants. But it was a false paradigm trying to get us to believe that they were creating something new, when it was really the welcome to the new lie, same as the old lie. But yet, it's interesting to me to note, and I didn't know this until right now, and that's one of the nice things about this channel is we discover a lot of things together. If you were with me on the NASA tour, we discovered a lot of things together. If you were with me on the divining or the crystal tour, we discovered a lot of things together. We discovered a lot of things together at the Casadega Spirit Orb tour. So at the very same time that I was going to say religious dummies, that probably wouldn't be very nice of me. And I had somebody tell me, Jeff, I really appreciate you. You've helped me learn and grow, but why do you have to be such a dick? They didn't really say that, but that's pretty much what they said. And I ask myself that same question sometimes. I really do. I'm not sure why, but I'll be 55 this year. And the chances of me changing significantly are diminishing at a very rapid pace. What you see is what you get. As the great American philosopher Popeye once said, I am what I am, and that's all that I am, or something like that. So during the same time that the religious dummies were fighting and bickering and arguing over how they were going to split up the spoils, really, that's all they were arguing about, is how they're what's the split going to be as we take advantage of these people. They were just arguing about profit margins, really. It's nice to know that during the 15th and 16th centuries in Germany, where the Protestant Reformation was taking place, the pseudo, the fake news, the false paradigm was taking place. There was also a resurgence in Neoplatonic. What is Neoplatonic? It means it relates back to Plato. It relates back to Plato, the whole idea of reality from a single principle. That's what Plato was saying. Look, we all come from the same place. We all come from the same thing. It all goes back to the source. That's Plato. And thank goodness that while these religious idiots were arguing and fighting about how they're going to take advantage of you and who's going to be able to take advantage of you, there was actually a resurgence in real thinking. Wait a second now. Guys in dresses on the left, guys in dresses on the right. I'm in the middle, and I'm whom they're having a fight over. But here's these guys over here that are saying, you know what? We're really all one. It's really all one. It really goes back to the source. And then also it was ceremonial magic. What is ceremonial magic? Ceremonial magic basically means that you use, spells and incantations and kind of rituals involved in the magic. But it's very interesting to me. And here's a real question. In the real world, big picture scenario, what if, ladies and gentlemen, what if the real fight was not against Protestantism? What if the real fight was against the resurgence of Platonic wisdom? What if the real fight was against the resurgence of magic with a K? They weren't making rabbits disappear. They weren't sawing ladies in half. They weren't pulling rabbits out of their hats. They were, what is magic? Harnessing, directing, and creating change through the power of your own intention. Because, if you're a Roman Catholic, yeah, you're worried about the Protestants, but what you're really, I got to find a place for this thing. Yeah, you're worried about the Protestants to a degree, but what you're really worried about, ladies and gentlemen, you're really worried about, maybe that's the spot, you're really worried about these people finding out that there's something real way beyond, way outside the realm of any type of organized ism. And the last thing you want people to realize is that, wow, there's power in the earth, there's power in the elements, there's power in me. And maybe the real reason, maybe the real reason for the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation and the fights between all that, besides having people like Marzulli and Clark and all the rest of these eschatological idiots being deceived, that was a big reason. But maybe the real reason, or at least a co-reason, was to fight the resurgence of Platonic magical wisdom. And let me show you something that kind of brings it right down to the bottom line, and why I encourage each and every one of you, to develop a divination practice. Develop a divination practice. Why? Because the ancient scriptures, Daniel the prophet predicts that it's those that have a divination practice that are going to be tuned in at the end of days, when AI and other false paradigms seek to exert themselves as deity and enslave us all. Now, you might have heard me talk about this on Coast to Coast AM last time I was on. But Daniel saw a great image. This is the statue with the head of gold and the arms of silver and the brass and on the way down. But the important thing is that right down here at the beginning, this statue, which is clearly by the context of Daniel, emblematic of something in our times that's going to try to rise up, exert itself as a deity and control all of us. What happened is that this stone, there's a stone cut without hands, which smites the image, and the image is broken to pieces. Well, Jeff, what's so great about that? Let me show you something here. And what we're doing is showing you the actual original Hebrew text. Nobody else shows you this. Joel Osteen's not going to show you the Greek. Billy Graham damn sure never showed you the Greek, because they're not trying to show you the truth. They're trying to keep you, lead you, guide you, keep you in the fear and guilt control matrix. And Billy Graham led more people than anyone that's ever lived into the fear and guilt control matrix. That's why I said, Billy Graham, good riddance. I did a video on that. Go ahead and watch it. Let's look at verse 34. Yes, I really did say Billy Graham, good riddance. Too soon? Not soon enough. So 234. I hope I can find this again. I didn't think about this. There's an image cut without hands, and that image is, of course, the Christ. And I'm trying to find where it says they were diviners. The image cut without hands, it says in this Greek, and I may not be able to find it at the drop of a hat like this, but it says that it was the diviners. The diviners that were part of this stone. The diviners that were part of this stone were the people that were part of this stone cut without hands. I'll have to find it and get back to you. If you saw the show, I did a show on it already, and you saw me point it out. But what Daniel says is that the stone that smashes the New World Order is the Christ, and the Christ is made up of diviners. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single person that ends up being awake or ends up being part of the, thank you, Stuart, I appreciate that so much, that ends up being part of the woke people is going to be using divining rods or pendulums or tarot cards or crystal balls. Doesn't mean that, but what it means is they will have discovered the power of their own intention. They will have discovered the magic that lies within them, and they're able to focus and get results and understand that it's not about church. It's about your own spiritual power. And we begin to realize that. And let me just let you know that when you give a chat like this, I forget what it's called now, super chat, I really do appreciate it. YouTube does take a huge portion of it for themselves. So if you want to support that way, thank you very much. If you want to go to my website and use my PayPal, where YouTube doesn't take a large portion of it, that's also available to you. And thank you so much for it. So the reason I talk about the rods, the reason I talk about pendulums, and the reason why I make them and offer them to you, the reason that I use cards and crystal balls is because I'm trying to give you ideas, try to put out, I call them spiritual technologies, and that one of them will resonate with you and that you will become a diviner. And in becoming a diviner, yes, it's cool that you'll become a diviner, but more importantly, it's not the actual divination tool that you're using, but when you begin to realize that the spirit of divinity is within you, that the power of divinity is within you, and you realize that you're not a sinner. You're not even a sinner saved by grace. Get that con out of my face. You're created in the image of the Elohim. You got the spark of divinity within you. And the Elohim have left us the ways and the truths that lead unto life more abundantly, and give us peace that passes all understanding. So that's the sense in which the rods are divining rods, divine. They're divining rods because they teach you about the divinity within you. Somebody says, yeah, Jeff, but those rods, they just do what you tell them to. Not true. If you watched me long enough, and we'll do some rod questions now. If you've watched me long enough, you know that there's times, not infrequent, that I believe one thing and the rods say another. So how do you explain that? If it's just my Rick and Delaney Jackson in the house, how do you explain that? They don't just pick up on the intention of the person. I believe that they tap into the ether, ladies and gentlemen. I believe they tap into the energy of the cosmos, and they deliver objective answers. Of course, it's just yes or no answers. Amber says, will you ask the rods about the Tesla car out in space? Is there really a Tesla car out in space? Yes, there is, according to the rods, really a Tesla car out in space. The rods just answered yes or no. Ask the rods, is the church losing? Yes, the church is losing. See if I can get this out of the way, and if you can still hear me, we can get some room for the rods. All right. Shelley says she found me through Rex. I've driven away a nagging fear. I always thought that divination was divine, but felt guilty. Perfect. Will there be sex in the afterlife? Let's answer the important questions now. Will there be sex in the afterlife? Sorry, it says no. Lauren says, I lost my gold cat pendant. How do I ask the rods where to find it? You can call BS on whatever you want to, Blue Blood Guitar. You have the right to be wrong. All you do is just say, hold your rods up and say, hey, where's my cat pendant? And it'll point to where your pendant is. Interestingly enough, I have a cat pendant hanging on a whiteboard over there, so it's very interesting. It just is what it is. Let me lower this camera a little bit so you can see the rods actually at work. But you can't see that I'm not wearing any pantaloons. All right, let's ask some more questions. I'll ask it again. Did SpaceX really send the car into space? Yes, they did. Is there a dead guy in that car? No, there's not a dead guy in that car. The gentleman in the Orb Church got his answer too. No sex, only love in the afterlife. Interesting. Oh, this is a good question, Iowa X. And I'm going to do a show about that. Will Billy Graham get up and walk around the rotunda? No. Will the ghost of Billy Graham haunt the Capitol building? Yes. Will things cool down between North Korea and the South? I say absolutely yes. So do the rods. Is Toth the devil? No. Do larger size rods work better? I think that they tend to be, there's a sweet spot. I used to do smaller wire. Now I use a bigger one. I think they work better. Let's ask the rods. Do larger rods work better? Yeah. Should said I would go to the mountains. No. Is Pence a pedophile? Says no. Rod questions. I'm not even know what a giant mud fossil is. I probably should be paying more attention. Do giant mud fossils really exist? Yes. Is Mike Pence a pedo? Says no. Is Mike Pence a weirdo? Yes. Will there be an ice age in the near future? No. Am I getting a job on the plane in Spain in the rain? Yes. Are 6 of the 7 Challenger astronauts still alive? No, they are not. Is there really any right or wrong? No, there's not. Does cannabis have some positive uses? Yes. Will L.A. Marzulli ever find real proof of giants? No. Is Jerry Runk the devil? Too stupid to answer, I guess. Does Donald Trump watch porn? No, he's a billionaire. He doesn't have to. Is Gravity Storm's intuition about Walter correct? Yes. Will said I would work again? Yes. Is Schumer? I don't want to do that because I could put myself into defamation of character. I think I'm going to pass that one on. Are the Andromedans returning? No. Will Trump serve a second term? It used to, it's unsure. It used to say yes. Now it says we're not sure. Are there Pleiadians in Antarctica? No. Are there Pleiadians in Uranus? No, thank God. Will Jenny see Abigail again? No response. Does cannabis promote pineal opening? No. I disagree with you, Jackie. I think that we're kicking Satan's butt out of here. Here's a good one. Do the Mystech bracelets really help? Absolutely. Do Archons rule the earth? No, we rule the earth. Will chemtrails be stopped? No. Will Audrey come back to me? No, and I don't think you want her to. That's just no coupon code. You have to order it through me. Follow the instructions at jeffreydarty.com. Is Jeff going to hell? No, because there's not one. Does the U.S. have an underground subbase in Antarctica? No. Is there an underground subbase in Antarctica? Yes. Oh, absolutely. Does the sun help pineal activation? Yes. Does Jeff need more vitamin D? No. Did Stewart live on Venus? Yes. Will Big Teddy Smooth get a complimentary Mystic bracelet? Sorry, bro. Is the timeline changing? Says no. Is the timeline being altered? Yes. Will the Federal Reserve be disbanded? Ooh, maybe. Did Hitler die in Paraguay after the war? Did Hitler die in Argentina after the war? It was Argentina. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. And listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Mother of Dragon says that since she got her Mystic, she's waking up before the alarm goes off. That's my experience as well. I guess I have to finish this up with, what about people that say the rods are from the devil? Well, the rods are from the devil. If you're a Christian, the rods are from the devil. And the reason the rods are from the devil, because in the Christian church, the devil is anything that goes against Christianity. And the rods help people discover the divinity within them, and it helps lead them out of the fear and guilt control matrix of Christianity. So yes, if you're a Christian, the rods are definitely from the devil. And I just might be the Antichrist. I just could be the Antichrist. If you're a Christian. So are they divine? Yes, they're divine. Another person from England. Are they divine because God runs them? No, they're divine because they help you tap into the divinity within yourself. Are they from the devil? Yeah, you can buy books with PayPal. They're from the devil if you're a Christian because they lead people out of the fear and guilt control matrix that is Christianity. How do they work? I think they work by tapping into the great consciousness. Going back to the beginning, they tap into the Platonic oneness. And I am your Huckleberry. That's just my game. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. And I know that it's easier to fool somebody than it is to convince them to be fooled. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. I'm encouraging you to guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, and be your own guru. Keep asking questions. Keep questioning answers. You are the Gospel Truth Army. March on fearlessly and unindoctrinate yourself.